Hey everybody, just a heads up, this episode was not originally supposed to be released. It was supposed to be a test run for me and Joey to get used to running a podcast, but it just turned out to be such a great conversation with my brother Sky and a really good episode. So I have really high hopes for the podcast. We're going to get better at this, but for now, give us some slack on working out the technical difficulties. Anyways, enjoy the episode and welcome to the podcast.
How's it going, man?
Good. Cool. So this is a little bit impromptu right now. This is kind of like a test podcast. So if this ends up getting released, you guys know that this is actually our first episode. So we're just going to get right into things. Let's go back to the very beginning. How were you first introduced to poi?
So I guess I met one of my buddies, and I was spinning glow sticks at the time, and I didn't really understand a lot of the movements you could do with something heavier. And my buddy had this, pair of poi, and I was kind of like, "What the hell is that?" And once I switched over to poi, I just never went back, and then I just progressively changed my poi, I guess, type throughout the years.
Yeah, I'm a little biased. I mean, I guess we both are, but like, so weird to look back at our glow stick days.
I know. I don't, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I was almost like embarrassed to even bring that up. There's only, but no disrespect. I mean, there's some, like Hindi is a madman with the glow sticks, and I just think, mad respect there. But I was no Hindi with glow sticks. Let's just say.
I get you. And there are people nowadays that like still pursue glow stringing or glow sticking over poi still.
Yep.
Because it is different. It's a different style.
Yeah. And I would say a lot of it is just the difference between stalls and wraps. Like I'm going to stall here to change direction or to maneuver into something else. With glow sticks, I'm going to wrap here. I guess you can stall with them too, but
stalls are really difficult with something with that little of counterweight.
Yeah. Even like snake poi. I mean, I can stall them, but they're a little bit more difficult just because of the shape of them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So how long do you think you had been spinning or like glow stringing before you saw actual poi or like fire poi, or what was the first version of poi that you saw? Was it fire?
Sock poi. Sock poi. And like like sock poi. I think that I'd only been spinning for a couple weeks, maybe a month and a half before before poi. But the first poi that I got introduced to was sock poi, just because the only way to get a decent pair of sock poi was to go through Home of Poi or to just put whatever the hell you wanted inside socks. So that was the easiest.
Totally. Yeah, we would make what was the first pair of sock poi that we made? I think it was like socks and rice or something.
We did. I think even before that, man, we took like a tennis ball and we jammed a knife in it, and then we threaded a shoelace through and just wrapped the, and back then, man, that was sick. I was loving those things. I loved those things.
You thought those were so well made.
Dude, we were. I loved them, man. I wish I still had them, honestly, to hang on the wall for memorabilia.
So going back to that era, who are your biggest inspirations early on in your poi journey, and how do you think they've influenced your style all the way up until now?
So I think like as far as like a, you mean like an in-person individual, like someone I've met too, or just anyone?
We'll say strictly for now, we'll say for YouTube. So like videos that you were watching of people online.
Yeah, I would say that, probably one of my favorite people in the community now is this Nick Woosley guy. I think he owns Play Poi. But I watched all of his tutorials, and just his way of teaching was just very compatible with my brain and how I learned. And it's kind of funny. I messaged him on Facebook like a month ago, kind of being like, I don't know, not expecting him to ever read it, just totally fanboying, be like, dude, you changed my life. And then messaged me back like 5 minutes later, dude. I almost fainted, man. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's funny how the poi community is so large, but also also very connected in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick did so many really good tutorials back then. I think he was kind of the original online instructor in a lot of ways, and he
Yeah.
kind of paved the way for someone like Drex to go online and do his own version of tutorials, as well as many other people that are doing them right now. But he was,
Yeah.
Nick was really like the first person, really.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because Drex almost kind of, to me, looks like, a Nick Woosley just kind of progressed, like a younger, version of Nick Woosley. They have very similar styles. And, like, especially like Nick Woosley, he is not a very super technical spinner, but he is a beautiful spinner. And every single pedal he does is, immaculate and pointed. And he's just so, so good and so fun to watch,
Yeah, I remember watching him doing certain flower patterns that nowadays are like household tricks, I guess. But
Yeah.
back then it
Yeah.
was groundbreaking stuff that he was doing,
Yeah.
because people really didn't have an understanding for poi as broadly as they do now. So what he was doing with flower patterns and extensions and doing different variations with like extension versus a flower, that stuff was very, very like groundbreaking, like I said. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it was. It was. I don't know, man. Like, yeah, just some of the stuff that he would do, is just insane. I mean, just the idea of anti-spin, like four-petaled flower or three-petaled flower, and like his way of explaining being able to stall on each one of those pedals. I feel like that changed. I still use that stuff now. I literally used it a minute ago when I was outside. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, some of those things that you learn, like the building blocks that you learn early on,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
influence your style, like just kind of in the long run, which is really interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know if you remember too, but I think my first like in person just reason to progress was a dude named Devin Alvarez, and I haven't seen him in years. I don't even think he spins poi anymore. Last time I saw him, he had bike tubes taped together with a shoelace, but the dude is he was insane. He was
You
so
told me
good.
about that.
Yeah,
So
they had a
funny.
nice feel to him, honestly. you know.
Yeah, I remember being very intimidated back early on when we went to drum circle and there were so many different spinners. I was also very
Mhm.
young, but yeah, I mean we kind of got lucky in a lot of ways with where we grew up, and the influence that we had locally was really special.
Yeah, it was, man, and I guess that's awesome for you. You were like 10 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
you really, like realistically, like let's think about it. Like, you were very, very young, and it was great, especially in the good old days that back there.
When drum circle was popping and it was really based around I wouldn't say poi, but more flow arts in general, because there was a
Yeah,
lot of different stuff. Poi was the primary thing there, but yeah,
yeah,
there was a lot of different stuff going on there.
yeah. I mean, you still find a few poi spinners there now, but it's very far from how it used to be.
Yeah.
Um, I guess some of the most groundbreaking, like evolutionary poi or flow arts related anything of my life has been just from going to that park during those days. So that's why I refer to it, I'm sure as the good old days, because that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
it really was, because
Yeah.
we had so many different people to bounce ideas off of.
Hmm.
And I mean, we all were relatively new, and poi was relatively new, like as
Yeah.
far as being introduced to like American culture, essentially,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
it was interesting to see. I feel like every other month or couple weeks we'd see somebody do something that I didn't understand that would blow my
Oh
mind.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
so we are just discovering things all the time with the amount of people that we had there spinning.
Yeah. And then night came around, and I guess that was everyone's first. Well, that was my first like time in my life where I was like, okay, I got to get some fire poi, because the second the sun goes down, then we all take in turns spinning fire out there. And it was a lot of people, man. A lot. So
There was so many people. I mean, we probably knew, how many people would you say? Probably like 35 or 40.
maybe more, man. Maybe more. Like, yeah, I don't know. A lot. Too many. A lot of them I don't even know their name, but like if I saw them now after not seeing them for years and years, I would still give them a hug and say what up.
Totally.
You know. So Yeah, I don't know. I miss those
Totally.
days, to be
Yeah.
honest. And
Wyatt Davis and Justin Hindy specifically. I remember when 30 Days of Ploy came out and Wyatt still lived in Salt
oof,
Lake, right,
yeah.
right next to Liberty Park, and he
Hmm.
was a little bit of a flow celebrity for us back then because like 30 Days of Ploy is still an amazing video, and back then it was even more so because nobody had really developed Wyatt's control of contact. He was
Hmm.
very like him and maybe one or two other people at that time were that good with contact. And we were very lucky to be able to like meet him and hang out with him and see him spin, even if it was
Yeah.
at a distance most of the time, you know?
Yeah. No, man, it's funny that you bring up that 30 Days of Poi video. I watch a lot of YouTube. I have the whole YouTube Premium. The only video, the number one, let's say, video I've watched the most amount of times in my life is that 30 Days of Poi video. And I remember there was a time where he took it down.
Pull that shit up,
And
Joey.
yeah, I mean, please, let's pull
Pull that
this
shit
up,
up.
dude.
Because,
You
yeah,
know,
it's 30 Days of Ploy by Wyatt Davis. Because, like,
Uh,
this
and it might
video,
be kind of hard to find.
you know what's funny is, like, look at the amount of views that it has 3.7 thousand views. That is
Dude,
crazy, dude.
dude, I bet you, dude, like, if it counted per views of individuals, I'm telling you, man, 90% of those could have been mine.
No, on different devices or
Yeah,
different
I
times
know.
or
Yeah, yeah,
telling
yeah.
other people to watch
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
right. I
totally,
like
dude.
publicly advertise for that shit, man. Like,
You know
and
what's funny is I remember that video being like, I thought everybody had seen that video, but like
yeah.
looking back now, it's just like it
Hmm.
was not very mainstream at all. Like
No.
it's just such a small amount of views now. Like
Oh, dude, I'm like getting goosebumps, dude, right now.
even just
I
the
love
intro music,
I
yeah.
love this living room. I mean, even to say that we've been in this living room and seen
Yeah.
that light fixture. I mean,
We
realistically,
walked into this living room to buy a set of poi, and I
yeah.
remember being in awe because we had seen
Look
the
at this
video so
guy.
many times. We
Yeah,
saw the tapestry, we saw like
yeah.
it was so cool,
I
dude.
feel like I was like on set of my favorite film. I was like, oh my god, look, there's that carpet. you know, and dude, look how monstrously long his poi are,
I
dude. Like seriously,
know.
I mean, really, I don't even know if mine are that long.
Yeah,
This guy,
we
dude.
so all of these folding line patterns that he was exploring, a lot of those really hadn't I had never seen. I don't know if they had
No,
been done before, but maybe
no,
not the exact way that Wyatt was doing them.
no.
I
There
mean,
was only one other
extremely
guy.
clear.
There's only one other guy on YouTube, and I don't even his name. What did he go by? Poi Boy, that Yusuf dude. He had the
Yeah,
physically improbable video.
I know who you're talking about. I was
Yeah.
thinking of Surreal, but I'm not
Oh,
sure. I'm not sure when that video dropped.
that's a dude. I think the Cyril videos are older than that, but like, dude, that's like watching normal people get really good, and then, dude, watching Cyril was like watching the Harlem Globetrotters, man. Like, he was something else, man.
He was so good.
He's still. I'll watch that and just be mind blown.
Joe, do you want to just roll that for a sec? Because I would love to watch. I mean, it's a goddamn classic. I would love
Yeah,
to
that
view out the
melting
remainder.
poi. The melting poi is insane. I think that's
Oh
the
my
name of the
god.
video. I
I don't
know.
know how many times I'll watch that video on this podcast, but probably a good amount of times
Yeah.
because if somebody hasn't seen it, or I'm sure it's somebody else's favorite video as well, because that's
Yeah.
another question that I want to get into with people is what was your favorite YouTube video for poi? What's your favorite poi video of all time?
Dude, by far, and yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen it. Mel Red Pants.
Yeah,
That
that was
is
another one.
that is my all-time favorite video for poi ever. Is the Mel Red
Ah,
Pants. That guy is insane. Sorry, I'm getting
see,
my.
like even some of the stuff that Wyatt's doing, like I said, it just holds up so well because
He's
like
so
even
good.
now you can go back after all this time and see a couple different things that you're like, wow, I forgot about that. Like that was so
Yep.
cool, you know?
Yep. Absolutely, man. I mean, dude, I think I like know every single scene of this. You know, even right here, where he's spinning right here, he did a juggling video later called Broom Pusher in this exact same spot, and I just remember seeing that door, and I'm like,
When he
dude, that's
shaved
the
the dreads.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly that video, exactly that video. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what good times, man!
Yeah,
And
totally.
this is the studio that we all used to go to for the fire conclave, the Utah Fire Tribe. That was that
Oh,
studio.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Dude, this guy, man, God,
I
it's still,
know, I
it's
know.
never, it always blows my mind, dude.
I'd
Always.
really like to have Wyatt on the podcast because even though he doesn't spin poi anymore, I'd like to chat with him about it and just see
Yeah.
in what ways did it help your club juggling. Do you ever miss doing a folding line like?
I'm sure he does it behind closed doors. He'll go lock himself in the room, do a quick folding line real quick, put it down, ditch it. You know,
Oh,
and
dude.
you know, I would say like in a way between him and Hindi and Matone, when Matone, their little crew, in a way, I think they kind of changed the poi world for anyone that knew about them or saw them, or anyone that knew anyone else that had learned from them. They changed that for me and a lot of other people.
Well, yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, because I mean, we took inspiration from Wyatt, and then
Yeah.
nowadays, like a lot of the times when I'm inspiring people, it's based off of ideas that kind of stemmed from watching videos like this, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah. And I think I was going to mention this. I remember he took this video down for a month. And I remember calling him or texting him and being like, dude, like, I was like, man, like, I know you don't want this online for whatever reason, but you're really affecting my life by taking this video down. Like, you know, like, please, man, just, if not for me, for the world, please. You know,
Just for memorabilia's sake, leave it up, please.
yeah, please, dude. This is
Yeah.
groundbreaking. This is,
Yeah.
and even still, man, let's say somebody nowadays posted this on Instagram right now. Let's say it was posted right now. This video would get some goddamn fucking hype.
Oh, dude. I
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if this was released today with how much larger like the
Oh,
poi community is. I wonder. I mean, it would have gotten more views. I feel like
oh, definitely, dude. Definitely,
it's such a
definitely.
good video, dude.
And the fact that this was, I mean, well, I don't even, this is probably more than 10 years ago. More. Maybe more than that. And like
Yeah,
realistically, I think that this, even now with how far poi has progressed, even now, this is still next level shit. Not a lot of videos you can watch that and say that from 10 years ago till now.
it's true, man.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it kind of goes back into like longer format videos like this, and like Surreal's videos,
Hmm.
and like Predator Poi from Tim
Ooh.
Goddard, and
Ooh. Yeah.
all these like kind of staple videos were longer form videos for YouTube. And
Hmm.
I really, as much as I love Instagram, I want to put in a longer amount of time on a video and do something like this, because it's
Yeah.
really like seeing it all together is different than just seeing like a clip, once or twice a week or three times a
Yeah.
week. Like actually sitting down to watch a 10-minute video,
Absolutely.
it's so much more impactful, I feel like.
Yeah. And especially for something like that, I think, and that Mel Red Pants video is like that too. And that is some of the craziest non contact shenaniganery I have ever seen in all of my days.
True, true.
I think the video quality on it is just horrendous, but it's still beautiful.
So bad. Yeah,
I think that,
2010, dude, 13
yeah.
years ago.
And that dude was even on Ukraine's Got Talent for contact juggling, man. That guy is serious.
Well, and he's still one of
Oh,
the most well-known poi spinners. I
he
mean,
is just beautiful at spinning, dude.
the Russian style of like really heavy body tracer
Yeah,
and like just tech spinning,
yeah. He's so artsy.
I
What were
remember
those,
watching
man? What were those?
I don't know. I remember watching this video and thinking I will never be that good, you know?
Yeah, dude. Even what he's doing right now. I mean, this is still every. I mean, waist wraps. But back, before that, man, he is just disgusting.
Yeah. What a good video. Ooh,
It is so good. I know, so original.
what was
And
that,
like
dude?
this dragging thing he's doing right here, man. It's just so visually
Yeah.
sick.
And you know what's funny about that pattern is he's doing the corners and not like the 4 petal grid that I typically stick to is like more of like a diamond, and he's kind of
Hmm.
more like a square. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
turned different. He's hitting the corners and not so much like bottom, right, top, and left. It's very
absolutely.
interesting.
I'm kind of like you too. Actually, I hit those diamond patterns too, but that may have been because we did learn the diamond patterns pretty much on the same day of the same year. So together.
True. True.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he just did a fishtail.
Yeah, wow.
I think back in
We
no,
didn't even know what that was back then. We didn't even
nope, nope, nope. I think
interesting. I wonder where he learned a fishtail back then.
I don't know. I don't know, man. That is a great question. This is crazy. This is what I was going to bring up. That is so sick. That visually, what he's doing right there with that pirouette.
Mhm. Mhm. What a
I don't
beautiful
know.
video.
He's so good, dude. I wonder where he is right now. I'm sure in this terrible writing down here in the corner, you can tell, but I cannot read that.
Yeah, that was an old video, man. It's really cool
Yeah,
to go back and watch some of that stuff now. And it's funny just kind
yeah.
of how your view on some videos changes, and it's no
Mm,
disrespect to the artist. It was just more goes to show you how much the community has grown at large, and not so much of like, oh, they weren't even that good. It's like, well, we just really didn't know that much yet.
yeah, yeah. Well, and dude, like even what was Hindy's video back then? His like 4 years of glowing and still going video was
Yeah,
just popping. Dude, that was so good.
it was so good.
I don't know, man. That is just nuts. I feel like if I hadn't have had all of that and back then and just available in my community, countless friends that spun poi, I don't know if I'd be still spinning or this. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, another question I had for you. I think what we're really passionate about really shapes and kind of directs our life in a lot of ways. And
Mhm.
like, how do you think poi has changed your life over the years?
Whew. I mean, that's a great question, man. I mean, this came from being young, just like everybody, and maybe not fitting in, or you can tell I talk a little funny. It's not because of this giant hole in my lip. It's just how I've always been. I used to have a stutter, and I just didn't have a lot of confidence, and I never felt like I was good at anything in my life. And when I started spinning poi, it just kind of gave me this newfound confidence, especially when I practiced and learned something. And I was like, maybe if I practiced at anything and just believed in myself and wanted to get better, um, I can do anything I wanted, just like anyone can. But it changed my life. It was the first thing that I loved. It was the first thing I ever felt good at. It taught me how to be more social. It taught me I made a lot of friends.
I feel the
Even
exact
up
same way.
until yeah, yeah, even up until this day right now, I feel like that it's the number one thing, like physical thing that's changed my life.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah,
Throughout all the different things that I got into, all the different hobbies that I had throughout the years, I feel like it was just the one that always stuck, that I always went back to, because
yeah,
I was always getting better. Even if I had times like periods of stagnation, it just ended up, you just break through that eventually and kind of get
yeah,
over it and
yeah,
get over those plateaus. But yeah, I think getting better and getting through those plateaus was extremely motivating,
yeah. No, absolutely. And it's nice hearing you say about that too, because you were always very charismatic, and the fact that it could help you be more social and accept yourself more. I mean, I'm pretty sure you were pretty much born with a six pack. I don't know if you remember those days like I do, but I'm pretty sure you were. And the fact is that it could help you when I mean, it seemed like you were really good at making friends, but it helped you shape yourself too. It can only, I mean, that only says like what it's doing for other people too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Well, and during that time, I didn't really have a lot of friends that were my age. So I was kind of
Yep.
just around you and your friends, and they were
Hmm.
all older as well. And yeah, so connecting with Poi and being able to kick it with the older kids and talk about,
Yeah.
stuff and not feel like a total idiot was
Yeah.
really good for me.
Yeah. It's funny that you bring that up because I just remember the days where people didn't, had never met you before, and we'd all go to Spin Fire. and you'd be like, "Hey man, could I burn next?" And you're like 11 years old, maybe, maybe younger, and they're like, "Hey man, your little brother wants to go spin. Is that cool? Like, we need to like." And I'm like, "No, he'll be fine." And they're like, "All right, bud, chill, be careful." And you go out there, and then you were like, twice as experienced as most of these dudes, and they're all asking you questions after, like, "What the hell was that?" Like, just it was just I loved that feeling because they just never
Uh,
knew. They never knew that you had already. I don't know. I loved
I
that.
was a little lab monster, dude. I just
Yeah,
I was just
yeah.
always obsessed with learning new stuff. So it was like not so much of like how old are you? It was more of like how much work have you put into this? And that's
Dude,
what is really cool about it, you know?
it's so funny that you say that because like I remember being on my laptop and it's like your memory storage is getting full, and I'm like, how in the shit is that even possible? And it's like, oh, your photo booth or whatever the hell it was called back then is using up all your memory. And I pull it up, dude, and there was like, I found like almost a 4 hour video of just you grinding. I'm like, God damn,
Yeah,
and
I did do
it
that
was
all the
full of
time.
that. It was full, chock full of them,
It's
every
true.
last
And
gigabyte.
it was all like back then it was just so much like flower pattern. More for me, I was very like weave based and fountain based, whereas you were more of like
Mhm,
flowery type style. But yeah, I
mhm,
was obsessed with learning forwards and reverse every weave that I saw, all these weird
mhm.
weaves, like archer fountains, like 5 beat archer fountains and stuff like that. That was just like
Oh.
really new at that time.
And you being like the only 11-year-old anyone's ever heard of that can do a 9 beat weave. I mean, let's really do this justice here. Like that
with
was
the with my
insane.
arms all tangled up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't even think my arms bend like that. That is nuts.
Being young helped me with that. It still kind of hurts my shoulders now to even try it.
Yeah, I mean, we should just get it a clip of it and then never have to do it again. And be like, no, here's the video.
What's funny is like I think it was like 2015 or something, maybe 2016. It was one of the first videos that I had shared uh to Poidcast, and I was doing a gnarly, I like a 7 beat or something with my arms all tangled up. And I thought it was so cool back then, and it is still pretty cool. But like so many people were like, I don't know about that one, man. That looks pretty like
Yeah.
suspect or whatever. People just didn't really like it the same way that I did. But I think that's what's really
Mhm.
cool about poise. You'll find like these little subcategory spinners that really love what you're doing. And it's not like you don't have to like what I'm doing with poi. I think that's the coolest thing about it is like
Mhm.
you don't really want to learn everything else that everybody knows how to do. You want to get better at the things that you want to be able to do.
Absolutely. I know the exact kind of individual you're talking about. Um, I don't know. On the other hand, spinning with people that just, I think Justin Hindy was just a fantastic example of somebody who just, no matter what it was that I wanted to share, they wanted to learn and they were interested, and it felt really good. And I felt like a lot of my style today is based off of some of the feedback that I got from him specifically as an individual.
Ah, man, going back to I think the period of time, like I don't know why it's so cemented in my memory, but when
I know what
I
you're
was
gonna say.
spinning, I was spinning with Hindi, and I learned how to do this really cool contact roll, and I was like, Hindi, look what I can do. It's this really cool roll, and I'm showing
Mhm.
him, and he's like, that's awesome, man. But like, what's your other hand doing? What's your other hand
Yeah.
doing? And I was like, damn, what is my other hand doing? And now looking back, yeah, my other hand was just spinning just to spin, and it wasn't doing anything. It wasn't extending, it wasn't isolating, it wasn't doing a toss, it wasn't doing anything. So
Mhm.
really it just kind of created my taste for density in poi spinning and like in sequence building. So now when I'm building a sequence or I'm building a performance, I don't like to waste beats. I like there to be something like purposeful placement, you know?
Absolutely. And like me as an outsider, I would say that for me, if someone were to ask me, what do you think was the time in your life or the time in Patrick's life that changed his style forever, I would have brought that up too. That's why right when you started talking about it, I'm like, I know because I watch you spin. You've always that I feel like that changed your life too.
It
You know
was
what
a
I
good
mean?
day. It was a good day. And it was
Yeah.
a really good challenging moment because it made me think like about separating my other hand and making the whole thing become more full and appealing, not so much
Yeah.
just based around what I'm doing with one hand, but what am I doing with two, you
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely. There's another example. I don't know if you're gonna remember him. He wasn't a very super talkative dude, but is a dude named Dylan Fisher. So
I don't remember Dylan.
he was the first person I ever saw do a straight jacket, which back then was like I just did a slam dunk from the for 3 point line like back then, and but he was the first person I ever saw to do a one-handed spiral. Which now I was like, that is back then I was like, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Now I can do one-handed spirals with both hands. I'm sure,
It's
you know what I
funny.
mean?
Yeah, I feel that way about a lot of different tricks. Like going back to Nick Woolsey, when he put out that tutorial on ᴍᴇʀᴜᴘ or Mercedes, um, we used to think that was just like insane, like
It's
so
because it
difficult to
was.
do. It is.
Yeah.
It was very difficult, and it is a hard trick. But now I'm
Yeah.
doing, Mercedes versus a ton of different stuff, anti tosses, body isolations, like extensions, all kinds of different things, and I'm
Yeah.
utilizing it in 3-point now, which is crazy to see how much things have changed.
That video was revolutionary. His way of explaining it too was just, and he had like that tracer effect on the
Hmm.
video.
The
And I was
tracers
like,
were
okay,
so helpful.
yeah, that guy was nuts, man. I would love if I could meet any poi spinner in the world, it would be him still. I know he does like poi retreats. That would be like a bucket list item before he stops doing those to be able to go to that.
True, true. If I could meet any poi spinner, I would really. I don't know. I would have to think about it. It would probably be Surreal, or Bo, or Bo. Out of the people that I have not met, it would probably be either of those two.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would love to meet either of those people too. I remember when Cyril came to Utah and for
Did he
like some
really?
convention. Yeah, but you know what he did the whole time? He stayed with Wyatt. Wyatt knows him personally.
What a dick.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Just kidding.
No,
I'm
and
totally kidding.
yeah, no, but like I'm like, come on, man. But it's like he was a celebrity, but I remember Wyatt being like, man, no, the only thing that this guy does throughout his day-to-day basis besides normal living things is spin. He was out spinning all the time, every second. I mean, and it
I was
shows
like that
because
for years, dude.
I
I was like
remember,
that for
dude.
years. Like you
I
would
remember
go
being
you would go to work in the morning and I would be outside spinning already, and then you would come back from work and I was still outside spinning.
Yep. Yep, I remember, and remember being like, damn, where the hell is Patrick? And then being like, oh, he's outside. I'm like, no way. I look outside and you're like sunburnt and just sweaty mess, just like spinning in the sun, 95 million degrees outside, and you're just going.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you always come back in and be like, dude, I learned so much shit every single time. Every
That's
single
what's so
time you come
fun
back.
about it is if you want, I still feel that way where I'll have a really good day at the studio and I learn all these weird things with 2-poi primarily now, because 3-poi is like a little bit different in the sense of you kind of have to envision a pattern and work on it for a long time. Sometimes you get really lucky and you'll just find something really quick, but
Mm-hmm.
more often than not, it's you have to work for it for a long time. Whereas with 2-poi, sometimes you just find something right off the bat and you're able to just do it and you know it now, and that's really fun. That's the really
Yeah.
fun part about 2-poi for sure.
Well, dude, 3-poi is crazy, man. Like I remember back in the day, so let's compare this to the history of skateboarding, right? So back in the day when Tony Alva, Lords of Dogtown days, they didn't ollie out of vert or anything like that. Pretty much street and freestyle was non-existent. Then Rodney Mullen invented the ollie, and these guys were like, dude, this is completely different, and this is stupid. And that was me with 3-poi. I was looking at 3-poi and being like, dude, this is stupid. I don't think any of that looks cool. I don't think any of it looks good. And then as time went on, man, and people started learning more and more things, I was like, dude, 3-poi can be sick. And now I'm so far behind the game. I just got my first 3-poi set, a month ago?
And you're
And
15 years in.
yep.
Yeah.
So
But
You know?
I would say that you already have a ton of fundamentals from ⴂpoi that will carry over. You just have to get used to there being a third. And once you get over that barrier of ⴂpoi one-hand control, you're really going to be able to branch out in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And, my biggest motivation for the ⴂpoi is getting really good at juggling those long ones. So that because
if anybody is watching this, if we do release this episode, Sky is dead set on juggling long poi, and I give him shit because I'm telling him that the medium length, I'm not even talking short poi, I'm talking like medium length poi are going to be a lot easier to learn some of these juggling patterns, but he will stay strong and you will learn the patterns.
I remember anytime one of us got a new pair of poi and his shirt was a tiny bit longer than mine, I'd hit up Wyatt. I'd be like, "Hey Wyatt, time for a new poi. Need him a little bit longer than how you made Patrick's."
Yeah.
Just a smidgen longer. Very noticeable though,
Yeah, the first person that I saw do ⴂpoi that I really was taken back by was Jonathan Alvarez. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, but
yeah.
Jonathan was
dude.
incredible at that time period.
Jonathan Alvarez was insane. I mean, he had the craziest. I think he started the gunslingers.
The whole movement, like the gunslinger movement,
color switches.
I swear, after Jonathan really popularized gunslingers, you saw them all over the place because we knew a lot of people that spun poi, so we really got to see what people were doing. We got to see a broad selection of what people were doing, and everybody started gunslinging after that. Same with ⴂpoi. Everybody's like, "Oh, dude, I'm gonna learn ⴂpoi," and it was so early on. ⴂpoi was really in its infancy still, and everything was based around like Superman weaves, which I was never into. I didn't really have a taste for them. I didn't really like the way that they looked, but now looking at where the Superman style of ⴂpoi has led to now, it's really cool. You can make anything look cool with ⴂpoi and with poi in general, but it just takes that extra level of comfortability and control to really make it look special and not lazy.
Right. No, and it's funny you bring up the Superman. So someone once told me, and I don't know, some people might take this as like kind of snooty. So I'm not gonna put them on blast of who it was, right? But somebody told me once that the Superman was only for people that didn't know or couldn't do a one-handed 2 or 3 beat.
Right.
And without without saying how I really feel about that, because I do respect poi spinning and at all levels, and if you can't do something, it's not like you should be shamed for that or feel bad for that. But to an extent, I think he's right, just because the whole 2 and the 3 beat forward and backwards, they just flow into everything else. The Superman really does not.
It's true.
It flows into a one-handed butterfly if you get good at it, So,
well, and if you get really good at it, it can go into a lot of different things, but traditionally it doesn't go into a lot unless you again develop that extreme level of control, and then you can really branch out in a lot of ways. But yeah, back then we were not fans of ⴂpoi, and it's funny now that you think of people that are pushing ⴂpoi, and it's like there's quite a few people that are really doing some special stuff with ⴂpoi right now,
Yeah, there is. And then there's poi juggling. You see Bo out there just straight up looking CGI photoshopped. You're like, man, this is not real. This is not real. And it is. I'm not trying to say it's not. Like, it is, but it does not seem realistic or possible. I mean, we were talking about it the other day. Chris Kelly's poi juggling too back then was
what's
insanity.
Funny? This might be a hot take, but if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. But if Bo did not exist, if he didn't juggle poi, Chris would probably still be the best poi juggler. And in my opinion, Chris is really not even that close to Bo. I don't think that's a hot take. Like skill-wise, as far as juggling goes, Chris's juggling is, like I said, if Bo did not exist, Chris would be fucking the top of the top, right? But I don't even think Chris is really super close to Bo right now, which is it just goes to show how incredible Bo is right now. It's just amazing.
Yeah, like as far as my opinion goes, which will vary from individual, but I 100% agree with you. All Chris's videos of him juggling in that what is it, the racquetball court? It just
Yeah.
insane,
Yeah,
insane.
the racquetball court, and then when he did Flow Show
Mm.
in, I forget what venue that was back then, but Flow Show, when he did the amphitheater performance, I still watch that video regularly because I'm working on a lot of juggling patterns right now that he did in that video, and for him to do it live was just wow, it's just really incredible. Because I might get a juggle right now. I'll get a juggle for like a video, and it might have taken me 50 tries.
Mm.
But for him to have that level of control to do it live at a performance is it's admirable for sure.
Well, dude, to be that confident with that level of difficulty, movements and tosses, to be that confident on not dropping them is truly insane.
Yeah, I agree. I want to get there, and I feel like when I'm building a performance right now, I have to keep in mind where I'm at, because I could make it really hard for myself and try to do tricks that I'm working on still, but do I want to risk dropping several times in a performance, or do I want to do stuff that I know I can do live and then I will be able to land? So it's kind of a delicate balance of pushing yourself and then also being realistic and wanting to deliver a special performance without a ton of drops.
Yeah. I like that you brought that up too, because I like all poi videos, poi content, flow arts content, but every once in a while you'll see someone throw something up that will kind of be like a sped up little video of how many times they dropped or messed up. And every time I watch it, I'm like, this makes me feel so good, because, you're just thinking these people are just out there just nailing it every time. And I'm like, I love that people are, making their lips bleed and, hitting themselves and throwing them, in water and, on accident. And, I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, behind the scenes, I drop my poi probably more than a couple hundred times a week,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Maybe more.
yeah. It really adds up over the years.
Well, and it's funny, and like you can see it in that 30 days of poi video that we just had on. Any people that have a living room or anything like that people are spinning poi with all the time, and they have a light fixture, 9 times out of 10 they won't have a light bulb in there, because they're like, okay, guys, you've broken off 7. We've been to replace it 7 times. It's only been 2 weeks, so let's just not keep anything there.
Yeah, dude. Well, I think this has been really smooth and easy. This has been a 43-minute podcast so far, so I think this is a really good first episode.
Cool.
I think it's funny how much we still didn't even talk about. I feel like
Yeah.
we talked about a lot of stuff, but yeah, I'd love to have you on again at some point when we get things more dialed in with Joey doing the tech side, and maybe I get a little bit more interesting questions. But I feel like we really have so much to talk about specifically because you're my brother, obviously. But thanks for doing this with me, man.
No, and it's just one more thing. It's funny, when I was telling people about a poi podcast, what would you guys even talk about for that long? Well, here's your answer. Here's your answer.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Cool.
but
All
thank
right,
you
man.
guys. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
we'll throw your tag up here, and everybody show Sky some love for coming on the podcast first. Technically first guest. So this will be available most likely on Patreon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, thank you.
Peace out.
Peace.